Why are we taking this risk to anger the United States of America? And the answer is this: we are not angering the United States of America. They are angering themselves. They are not going to tell me what relationship I have with Fidel Castro. We have that friendship with Cuba as part of a world alliance of third world nations that are fighting for justice for poor people in the world. And I tell you as the party leader, as long as this party is in power, we intend to walk through the world on our feet and not on our knees.
We intend to walk through this world on our feet and not on our knees. Does that sound familiar? Every time you turn on the news and you see one of Donald Trump's, I would call them like his minions, or anyone making the claim, pitching for Donald Trump, one of the things that you hear them say is, yes, Justin Trudeau, bend the knees. Oh, yes, President Macron, bend the knees. Everybody is kissing the ring, bending the knees. Sound familiar? So this was the Prime Minister of Jamaica, Michael Manley. And this is from the 70s. This is way back in the days. And this was the last time that, not the last time, but this was one of the first times that a Jamaican government defied what the American government asked them to do. So back then, the American government was saying that, look, we need for you to cut ties with Cuba, very similar to what is going on now. And at the time, Michael Manley said he'd rather to give up everything than to listen to what the American government had to say at that time. Sound very familiar to what is happening today. So I've been talking about this story for over a week now, and we receive hundreds of comments in the comment section, messages, and the most common thing that we have heard is, where is the Jamaican Prime Minister? The Jamaican Prime Minister is missing in action. Where is the Jamaican Prime Minister? So one of the things, I was thinking about it, and because I am one of the person that think that all the leaders in the Caribbean need to stand on a united front with this. But when, I went back into my brain and I started thinking about history, could this be the reason why we have not heard from the Prime Minister of Jamaica yet? Because the last time a Prime Minister, a Jamaican Prime Minister, go against what the American government said, the rules that the American government set in terms of the relationship with Cuba, it was not pretty. So I have a clip to show you of Louis Farrakhan talking about Michael Manley and some of the stuff that allegedly was done by his government back in the days to stop Michael Manley with the relationship with Cuba. Let's take a look.
Even down in Jamaica, I'm skipping, they tried in 1976 to organize a military coup to overthrow Michael Manley. In 1976, they supported attempts to assassinate Michael Manley on 3 different occasions. The little man who led Jamaica, who spoke at Savior's Day, was such a threat to our government that they attempted 3 times to assassinate the man in 1976. So later, they found a way to get rid of him through riots in the street over food when they cut off assistance to Jamaica. This is America.
Okay, so that was civil rights leader Louis Farrakhan addressing a crowd in America, talking about what happened when a Jamaican government tried to go against what the American government stated, and that was cut ties with Cuba. You cannot have a relationship with Cuba. And this is well documented in Jamaican history. This is not like a fiction of his imagination. This is not like some Anansi story. This is real. This is documented. You can go in Jamaica, dig up the archives, and you can see everything that happened between right within that time, 1976. And that was the year that I was born. And I remember everything spilled over into what they called the craziest election in Jamaica history. I'm trying not to use too much word to get flagged by YouTube. But the craziest election in Jamaica history. And I remember as a 4-year-old at that time in 1980, I remember living in Seaview Gardens, and I was like 4 years old. And I remember because the sounds of, shots ringing through the skies. And at that time as a child, I remember growing up, not realizing that we could have slept on the bed, because growing up in Seaview Gardens, the bed was there, but we were sleeping on the floor because of, bullet holes coming through the windows and stuff like that. So, and it is crazy because at Jamaica before when Jamaica gained independence, at the time, crime rate was like, we had like less than 50 homicide for the year. And 1980 election, from what turned out to be like a civil war between the 70s leading up to 1980, when 1980 was the most dangerous election in Jamaica history. Like the amount of people that died during that election, it is like so crazy. So that is documented, like for people who are old enough will remember. And as I said, as a child in Seaview Gardens, I remember sleeping under the bed. I remember waking up in the morning to the bullet holes. So, when I was thinking about it, after receiving all the messages and all of the comments in the comment section, why is the Prime Minister not saying anything? And I'm like, maybe this is it, because back in those days, and the people that were closely aligned with Cuba at the time, Michael Manley was one. The other person that was closely aligned with Fidel Castro was also Maurice Bishop. And if you do your research, you know what happened to Maurice Bishop when Grenada was invaded by the U.S. government and the Prime Minister body was not found. So, and then the other person that was closely aligned with Fidel Castro at that time too was the Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Trudeau. But Pierre Trudeau seemed to be the only one that escaped being the pressure that we felt, that the leaders in the Caribbean felt. I don't think Pierre Trudeau was experiencing any of those pressure, because Canada really had the Prime Minister of Canada really had a close relationship with Fidel Castro. And that's why even today, a lot of people, a lot of Americans would describe Canada as a socialist country. And so, that is it. And here's another clip with the Prime Minister at the time, Michael Manley, the Prime Minister of Jamaica at the time, during an interview talking about the relationship between Cuba and how America is not comfortable with it, but he's standing his ground because he's not folding in to the American government. Let's take a look. Here at Carib 21, I'm on a mission to showcase the vibrant culture and the breathtaking beauty of the Caribbean while showcasing our culture and what is trending. If you want to support me on this mission, please subscribe. And if you also want to support, you can hit the comment section and buy me a cup of coffee. In order to buy me a cup of coffee, you can follow these instructions. Just click more. You will see the link to buy me a cup of coffee. Click the link. You can purchase 1 or 2 cups of coffee, and you'll be helping me to fulfill this mission. Thank you.
Legitimate part of the world and this hemisphere. And it has one of the most legitimate governments in the world, because legitimacy is a function of popular support and nothing else. Nothing else legitimizes except the people. And no country, in our view, no country has the right to impose sanctions upon Cuba or any other country that has legitimacy. To us, therefore, it is non-negotiable that Cuba must be accepted as a full, free, and untrammeled member of the world community and the hemispheric community. And if that is not so, we can't make it so. I don't say this in arrogance. I'm talking about what we stand for, not what we can make happen. But what we stand for, we will not move over, and we'll pay any price for. And, looking at it from a practical point of view, you could say this. If you can do that to Cuba because somebody doesn't like the Cuban Revolution, then how do I know that you don't do that to me tomorrow? Because you don't like something that I do.
Would you say then that this is a reason why you are dissatisfied with the absence of sanctions against South Africa while there are sanctions against Cuba?
It does not. Well, I'm not an easy person to embitter, but that makes me as near to bitter as anything in the contemporary world. It's something that I said in Maputo, actually, at a conference to which I was invited this year, that it really is a tragic commentary on human values in the world, that there are still sanctions against this really very brave and brilliant social and human experiment which is taking place in Cuba. Even if you don't agree with the methodology, it's a remarkable experiment. And you can leave sanctions against that country and apply not one sanction. Well, they're now talking about an arms embargo, but not one economic sanction against the ultimate leper of the international community, South Africa.
Okay, so that was Michael Manley again, late Michael Manley, late Prime Minister of Jamaica. And as you saw in that video, and one of the things that is interesting, because these videos, like I did some research and I came upon these videos because I remember we went through some turbulence time back in the days. And it is so interesting because doing my research and going through, especially this last clip that I played, it was so fascinating because when in one of my earlier videos that I did this week about the same, the Caribbean leaders standing up with Cuba, one of the things that I mentioned where a lot of people are pretty much siding with Donald Trump and saying that, Donald Trump is doing this for a particular reason, or he is concerned about the Cuban people. And I stated in that video that no, I don't think Donald Trump cares about the Cuban people or whatever Cuban people are going through. And one of the things that I said is that where was America when the apartheid government in South Africa? So it's very interesting to watch this, to be doing the research, and saw that Michael Manley was saying the same thing, that here are two countries, one country that you don't agree with what they're doing in terms of being a communist government, and you from that time, that was like in the 70s, for you to put an embargo and to shut them down. But still, on the other side, there's a country that is operating under an apartheid system where a set of people, black people, have no rights in that country, and there was no embargo on South Africa from Cuba, from the American government. And as I said, America was one of the last country to step in and to say, look, this apartheid system was wrong. So guys, let me know in the comment section, do you think that history, the Prime Minister of Jamaica probably knowing the history of how when America come knocking at your door and say, look, do this, or we're going to make sure that maximum pain is applied. Do you think that this would give the Prime Minister or to give any of the leaders in the Caribbean some reservation in terms of, look, maybe we should not mess with the Americans because the relationship between Michael Manley, the relationship between Maurice Bishop did not end well. So sound off in the comment section and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think that this could be one of the reasons why you're not hearing the Prime Minister coming out more aggressive and tackling this issue and standing with some of the other leaders because of the history of Jamaica and Cuba, the relationship that these two countries have going way back, and the discomfort that the American government felt with Jamaica because of this relationship? Sound off in the comment section, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content. And remember, peace. I'm out.